P3 for round 6 at the Dutch GP, and this time I got the little Bompier next to me. Bompier, sorry.
Hello guys. Yeah, it's been a while, but good to be back. Looking forward to another race. Yeah, haven't seen as much of the season as I usually do, but excited to see what everyone can do.
Yeah, me too, mate. I've seen a lot of a lot of action here in Tier 3, especially the Monza Grand Prix as well, when Deluxy was fighting with the likes of Locci and the Little One. Deluxy, who moved up from Tier 4 to Tier 3, and he's doing a good job so far because he finished in P3 at his first race, the Monza Grand Prix, on his debut for Tier 3, so that's a good result, fighting with the Little One, who is the championship leader, by the way, fighting with Ayoub, who's currently in P2 in the championship, behind 26 points, tying Dragon on Speed, the Belgian driver in P2, the German driver in P3, and I think I saw a sprinkle of rain on my screen. Did you, Bompier?
For what I see, it's fully dry, but there are clouds. I don't rule out anything. A lot of drivers already on outlap, so maybe they just get out of the track very fast to maybe avoid some rain that's coming on later.
Could have swore I saw some rain, but could have been my eyes deceiving me. But anyways, heading down to turn board then. Into first turn we go, and use the throttle to rotate the car nicely out of turn one, going into turn 2. I'm on board Craigo, by the way. Turn 3, and in turn 4 we go. Craigo, who won the Chinese Grand Prix in the first round of the season, and he is currently 5th in the championship, 71 points, 2 points behind Mazzles, the Denmark driver. And now we're coming through the end of this first sector here. Let's say it takes it 25.0, 6 gear. Carrying him a lot of speed through here and going into this part as well. The next right-hander, you don't want to drift out too wide on the curve there because it'll take you off the track. Going into the second right-hander, a little bit of understeer through there for Craigo. Now heading into this left-hander, open up for the entry there to get a good exit. Don't touch that inside curve because it'll send you into a spin. Heading out of the corner we go now, and into the middle sector we go. It's a 49.8 in that middle sector, and let's see how it takes this part of the section there. A little bit wider than he would have wanted. But it gets on the throttle now, as now we make our way towards the final 2 corners then. Into the penultimate corner we go, where we saw, I think it was Latifi or Russell who crashed through there in 2021. Now coming to the final corner we go, flat out through here, DRS enabled, and it's about to set his lap time of 11.7 then in that Aston Martin for everybody to beat. Our next driver is the Red Bull to cross the line, but I don't think he set a lap time, and I think he was about to start one in fact, but it could have been Jay Hart now going for his first lap time, but the timing graphics has glitched a bit because I think somebody did join a session, so I can't really see what tyres people are. I presume the soft compound tyres, but the timing graphics have gone away for the time being then.
Yeah, I was aboard with Mazzles on his lap as he just set a 12.0, 3 tenths behind Craigo and Dragon Speed. The other Aston Martin goes P4 as Ayoub blitzes to the top of the standings, 4 tenths faster than Craigo. Mazzles was faster, however, than Craigo in the first sector alone. I think it was 2 tenths the difference. So in this second and third sector, Mazzles lost a little bit of time. But still in P3 as Leon, actually, well, I was saying that, has set the exact same lap time as the Haas driver and only 4 thousandths behind them. It's Deluxy, so looking like a very good close qualifying so far. The second Ferrari of Christophe into P2, so Ferrari looking strong at these early stages here.
They are indeed. Ferrari 1-2 so far. That'll help that will help Ayoub in the Ferrari with his teammate being in P2, fighting for the championship. As Jay Hartnell has set the fastest lap with a 11.3 then, so he finally takes the Ferrari's glory there, and we can see an Alpine on the map going is stationary. So I wonder what happened to him. But MKP is coming towards the line now. It's a 12.3 for him in the McLaren, and he's just outside the top 10, only by a few hundreds though, so not separated by much as these guys. And Nacho, the Dutchman, at his own Grand Prix, has put his Williams, up into P4, only a few hundreds away from Christoph there in P3 in the Ferrari. But I want to keep an eye out on the Little One. He's on his out lap, heading into his flying lap there, so let's see what the Alpha man can do. And he went out very late in comparison to others, but Fandango has popped his McLaren into P2 there with 11.3, and he's 11 hundredths away from the pole sitter in P1 then, so that's a very good lap time there set by Fandango. And Dragon Speed did give a moment of appreciation there for Fandango, who went through a hard time as a lot of glitches and I think went in the lobby last week, and he was took all of his time to try and set the lobbies up again. So give credits there for Fandango for working very hard and trying to get the lobbies up. He's also the host and the main admin as well, and he's also doing good as a driver, so he's good at multitasking in Fandango, even commentated too when he needs to, and he's 2,000s quicker than Ayub in P3, so that's very close between those guys. But the Lithium 1 is 49.9 in that middle sector. I want to see where it puts him in comparison to these guys here. What lap time has he got in the back then as he makes his way towards the final two corners there, down into fourth gear, the exit of the penultimate corner, flat out through the final corner, the banking, and now DRS enabled. What lap time can he set? It's 11.8, so he's quite far off the pace. 5/10 away is the Lithium 1, but that is his first lap time, so plenty more to improve there, hopefully, for the championship leader.
Yeah, definitely, and as you said, it's only a banker. You can still easily improve on that, I'm sure, and I think the game showed that he had a purple sector 1. Looking at the time now, that is wrong. Not far off though, so it definitely has space in the banker. Maybe it just goes with a little lower wings, as that definitely improves your sector 1 time. MUFC Harvey now, one of the two guys only yet to settle lap, along with KXI. Harvey though, coming around the final corner now, he is gonna set his first lap time of the session. Notice his deploy use is kicking in a little bit later than the little one, so he still had some power down the straight to get that final sprint down to the finish line, and he goes ahead of the little one as well. Only 500s though. KXI now on his lap, the last one to actually try to set a lap time, 24.9 in the first sector. I think that's 1 or 2 tenths of the fastest that we've seen so far. Still definitely not out of contention yet for any of the high places. Now in sector 2, going on to the second DRS straight on this track, the second and apart of course from the start finish, the only DRS that we have here, braking as the curbs out there, hitting the curb on the inside very nicely, avoiding it here, going back on yourself throughout that corner, full on the throttle, braking after the 50 meters, hitting the apex pretty nicely, using all of the track as well, full throttle in the last corner of course, as it is easily flat. Didn't even run out of ERS use, and he goes into P7 with an 11.71. Pretty good lap time from the Aftawi there.
Indeed, on his first lap time, like you said, he was the last one to set it, and he puts it into P7. His ERS deployment was about 6% on the line, whereas MUFC Harvey was 18%. So it looks like MUFC's Harvey's deployment is much better in comparison to the others. But I think Christoph has crashed into the first sector, I think, at the end of the first sector.
Yeah, I think he just dropped it in Skyflag, which is the very fast corner to the right. Just dropped it there. Maybe even later. It looks very late out the corner. Maybe just got onto the curve on the left a bit too much and then stayed into the wall.
Oh!
I'm not sure what happened. And as I saw there, Leon as well, spinning and hitting his rear into the wall. No damage to his front wing, taking out that 50-meter board as well, which is going to hamper some drivers without racing line. As Veloci Ayub goes into P1 and the first one into the 10s as well. Great lap from him.
Indeed, and when I was on board with Leon, he made a mistake as well at the end of the first sector by running him out wide on the curb. Luckily, he did invalidate that one, but more pain afterwards, and he evidently spun coming out of the exit of that right-hander. So apologies for not knowing the corner names or numbers here. I've got to learn them, but I'll try and get the chat map up for you so I don't say this corner or that corner. But Veloci Ayub is currently quickest then with a and McLaren has spun, and is that Fandango? No, it's his teammate.
Yeah,
his teammate passed him.
Out of Schijfvlak, which the Dutch call it, but I think it's corner. It is turn 7 for just everyone that's not Dutch, I think. So let's just keep calling it that. Very tricky corner, easy to lose the car, definitely. And there's another spinner, that's an Aston Martin, I believe, on the inside of turn 12, that is. Turn 10, I should say. Hit the curb there, very easy to spin the car around.
And we had another spinner. I was on board with Fandango, and it was an Alfa Romeo. That could have been a little U1 or Harry Palmer. Fandango backs off, and he's in the pit lane, so we don't see an improvement from him then. Wonder what it could have been. And it wasn't the little U1, it was Harry Palmer, who's just dived off into the pit lane, who spun at the penultimate corner then. So Harry Palmer is struggling at this early stage, well, late stage of qualifying then, so hopefully he can find a rhythm and try and get a decent lap time on the board. The little U1 is going for his second flying lap, coming towards the end of the first sector. Already 1/10 up is the little U1, coming to this right-hander, carrying a lot of speed through here. Now heading to the second right-hander we go. Did touch the grass on on the outside there on the left front tyre, but I don't think it affected him too much. Good entry through there. Uses the curb as well to maximise the track as well. Coming into the left-hander, connecting with that curb as well. Make sure he doesn't take too much of it, otherwise he will spin. And now we're coming towards the end of the middle sector, turn 11, 600s up then, so he did lose a bit of time in that middle sector. Takes the curb very nicely then, bounces over it like he should do, and let's see what lap time he can set then as he makes his way towards the penultimate corner. Touches the outside grass once again, now coming towards the final corner. And let's see how much time he's gained or lost from that as he makes his way towards the line. It's going to be a 11.5, so he finds 3/10 in the middle sector despite losing it in the middle sector in the last he finds 3/10 in the last sector where he lost it in the middle sector, so he's still there. It's the T1 and plenty more time to be found from the Alfa Romeo driver. Let's see how much time he can find, but would you advise these drivers touching the grass there on the entry towards corners? Will that do your car any favours?
Not really, no. As I think a few games ago on Brazil, the last corner, that's the only time I can remember where actually putting the wheel on the grass would benefit your lap time, but now just the tires get too dirty and just experience a bit too much of grip loss, I think. And talking about people with grip, Ross is now on a lap. He is improving a 10th through the middle sector, which could put him up to P4 as he now hits that final corner without touching the grass on the outside. Running very low on ERS, as we've seen a lot of drivers do in qualifying. It could be something to keep an eye out on, but he has made a mistake in that final sector as the little one retired on the track. I think that's, yeah, he just spun on the curb, I think. Outside curb, hit the wall on his in-lap even, so that's disaster for him.
Oh, that's a shame there for the T1. Could cost costly as his championship rival is in pole position then. So the T1, best hope that the guys behind him do not improve on their lap time. So he's on the back foot then, is the T1, along with the Ferrari driver of Christoph in P5 there, and I'm on board with the McLaren driver of Fandango. The AlphaTauri is about to make his way towards the line, and it's in P4, so that was KXI then, who moves above the T1. The T1 was hoping that nobody would improve, but KSI has, and Fandango 6,000s quicker in the first sector already. And let's see how much time he can find through these twisty parts of this track. Very difficult indeed, very technical. Now coming to, he took too much curb there on the entry. There's a Williams just ahead who's just crashed in the foreground, as you can see in the picture of our screen, left hand side, who's crashed, and that was Nacho. Nacho has crashed out of his home Grand Prix. So two drivers there struggling in two corners there, in space of two corners, and unfortunately one's lost his wheel. The other one, however, has kept going, thankfully unscathed, and he's got 4 minutes left to go on the clock to get this last flying lap in. But Fandango there went too hard on the curb, Bonpierre.
Yeah, and talking about spinners, I was just on board with Harry Palmer as he was rounding the penultimate corner where you actually have to brake and accelerate out of, and he went onto the curb a bit too enthusiastically. He just spun the car around, got beached on the curb as well. But he is now probably making his way into the pit lane. Yes, indeed he is, following the McLaren to just get his final run, and had to slam on the brakes there to avoid him. I think MKP is on a lap as well. I'm not 100% on that. Maybe the AlphaTauri coming towards the line now. Yes, he's starting his lap. The AlphaTauri, so MKP. He is improving 200s, 2/10s, as you say, but he has to find a bit more time in that final sector, a lot more time to actually shoot up the standings, and he stays put in P18 700s over Harry Palmer and only 10th of dragging on speed, and he probably will have time to go into the pit again and out to start his final run. The AlphaTauri of Gargreaves is now the only one on the lap, I think. In this first sector, he was improving a 10th as well, so maybe you can see something from him in this trick section now that we've seen Fandango spin in, because he was too much on the curb. Gargreaves manages to avoid these curbs, just kisses the curb as you want to do, but not too much, as that indeed will spin the car around. Just a slight improvement from him past the second sector, but I think he lost some time in that middle sector. If we just look at his first sector as well, touches the wheel on the grass for turn 13. Flat out through turn 14. He has some ERS left, so well done to him there. What's he gonna put on? And he is going to go to P7, so big improvement in the last sector from the AlphaTauri there.
I was aboard with him too throughout the rest of the lap, and it looks like a decent lap there from Hargreaves, and he's only oh, look at that, P4 to P7, just a few hundreds away, a few millimeters away from each other, so that is super close there between P4, P7, and look at that, not even that, P4 down to P10, separated by over a tenth then, so if anybody find a tenth or two, they can find themselves catapulting up the order towards P4, and I think somebody else has moved up the order too. I think that was the Alpine of Leo, who's gone 2 tenths quicker on his lap, and he puts that Alpine into P12 then. Craigo, our Chinese Grand Prix race winner, he's not on a lap time, he's still in P11, and I want to see the main rivals then come out the track for the dying stages of qualifying then. Veloci Ayub has retired from the session with 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go. I'm not quite sure if he crashed out or not. Did you see him crash out, or did he retire the pits?
I saw him, the message popping up, and he was still in the pit, so he just had faith in his lap time, I think.
Doing a Sebastian Vettel then, just waiting for everybody else, and Jaguar Speed will not be improving his lap time. He is done with qualifying. He's lost his front wing, and that's his last time. Oh, last lap done and dusted then. And KXI, the reason why I got a bit excited there, because I thought he spun, but it was a bit of lag going on for me. He's moving left to right, and I think he's about to start his final flying lap. He's already done one lap on that set of soft compound tyres, so he's going for 2 like Hargreaves. He may have made a mistake on his first lap and now going for a second lap on the set of soft compound tyres then. Let's see how he negotiates turn 1. Very nicely, gets a good exit coming into turn number 2 now, and turn number 3 hits that inside curve going into turn number 4. In actual racing there, you go wider, but in the game you don't want to do that, because obviously you'll go off the track and invalidate your lap time and spin potentially, so that's why you take the acute line. Now we're going in towards turn number 6, 400s up, and he's going through 7th gear. Some people dropped out to 6th because they're not really confident, and now they're going through this first part of the right-hander here, and coming into the second right-hander we go. Nicely done there from KXI. Let's see what he can do in this left-hander. Can be quite difficult, especially using traction through it. Open up the exit there to go wide and try and utilise all the track you have available to you. A 49.7, that's 1/10 up in that middle sector there. That is crucial. That could be to put him into P3. Let's see how much time he can find in this last sector here. Can he find himself on pole position? We're about to find out in a few corners time, and now he makes his way towards the final corner. Mazzles has gone up into P3 in the house. We've got a Mercedes crossing the line, and that's MUFC Harvey not improving. KSI comes towards the line. It's a 4.3, and he puts that AlphaTauri into P4 then. So let's see if anybody's out there on improvement. Jay Hartnell, a few hundreds up though, but it's not enough to take away pole position from Ayub in P1. He's about to cross the line now in the Red Bull, and it's 11.1. He does improve, but not in his position though, so that's a good qualifying for him. Crucially, he's ahead of his championship rival, the Let's one. He's in P7, so hasn't dropped much because he was in P4 before. Ross heads off into the pit lane as he will no longer complete that lap. Gautier will back off in the pit lane too. And is anybody out there to try and set their final best flying lap? We've got MUFC Harvey making his way into the pit lane. Craigo in the Aston Martin. Let's see what he can do. He's running out of EOS, and that's it for him. Qualifying and done and dusted then. And Mazzles is on his in lap. So that's a good lap time from the Haas driver who puts his car into P3 and qualifying and done and dusted. Ayub is on pole position by under 3/10. That's a fantastic lap time there, set by the Ferrari driver, the Belgian driver.
Yeah, definitely. If you take in consideration that it's a very short track, 4 by 3/10 is monstrous, if anything. And yeah, right at the depth, Mazzles and Ross improving their lap times to go up into P3 and P6 respectively. KXI as well with a position improvement, but apart from that, it had a bit of an anti-climax at the end of the session. Maybe expected a bit more, but still, Ayub is on pole.
We'll see what happens in this race. I think 36 laps left to come ahead of us in this Dutch Grand Prix. Am I correct? 36 laps?
I think so.
And as you can see in the chat, there's people are applauding Ayub's pole. Harry Palmer, well, there was an anticipation for rain in qualifying because Harry Palmer, Gautier, Lefellon said there was going to be rain and wet qualifying. And it turns out not to be. I did see a bit of a drizzle on my screen there, but I think it was my eyes deceiving me there, so I don't think we're going to see some rain anytime soon, but rain would have spiced it up. That's why I thought a lot of people on the outlets very quickly, because the rain was going to come in. But good evening to you all. Hope you're all doing well. And Ayub, who's second in the championship, has put his car in pole position. If you weren't joining us in qualifying, the little you on crashed out at the final corner, or the penultimate corner, headed to the final corner on his in lap, according to Bompia, as he saw.
Yes.
Gonna make up for it in the race.
I think he definitely did. But still, Ayub is on pole with last week's race winner. I think he'll definitely have the pace, considering that lap as well in qualifying, to maybe pull away from the field and just have a very dominant race. But it's Sanford, the walls are very close to the track. Safety car is, as we've seen in the qualifying, a crash is definitely not out of the question. So a safety car could very well come out. But the sky is very blue.
Indeed, so we won't see any rain for the time being, so that could be put aside and put into bed. And nice sunny race ahead of us. Anything could change, obviously. The weather changing drastically around here in Zandvoort, especially the Belgian Grand Prix, where it tends to rain there quite heavily as well. And Malaysia, we've seen a lot of weather at that Grand Prix in Sepang. But here at the Dutch Grand Prix, we'll see what happens then. And in real life, you'll see a lot of orange. That's the weather conditions, isn't it, Bompia?
Yeah, definitely. It's a sea of orange on every single grandstand in the Netherlands, which is just great to see.
A lot of passion there with the Dutches.
Yeah, it's great. I think only one Dutchie on the grid in Nacho. Could be wrong. Just let me quickly check. But he'll definitely want to show the best side of himself on his home track, in front of his home crowd.
What's your opinions on this track, by the way, Bompia? What do you think of it as a whole?
In terms of driving, very good. Now it's especially the second sector, just a bit of a roller coaster, and turns 3 and 4, or 2 and 3, I think it is. Just so fast paced, and the banking is quite unique. So the driving is a very good track, but overtaking and racing in general, it's a bit meh. And I don't think, maybe with these drivers, overtaking is never out of the question. And I hope we just see some people pull off great moves into, especially turn 1. I think is the main spot for overtaking. It's still definitely not easy in that swooping right-hander. So yeah, I'm expecting a good race, but definitely a lot of chaos as well. If we look at the tires, it's very mixed. A lot of people on hards. Jay Hartnell is starting on mediums to challenge Ayub maybe at the start. Immediately KXI and Fandango as well, looking to have a good start and just get their way up to the provisional podium positions. And Ayub warming his tires in a interesting way. Let's just put it like that. Spinning there. Probably it doesn't really make that much difference. And at the back of the field we have another spinner in Harry Palmer. I think just got on the throttle a bit too eager. But yeah, a lot of different drivers on different tires, so it should be a very interesting start.
We always know safety cars could play a massive factor, and that's probably why some people have opted to go for the medium compound tyres, because if a safety car comes out, let's say lap 13, 14, the medium runners can switch over to the hard compound tyres, vice versa, let's say lap 19, lap 20, depends how long those hards can go, hards to mediums. So we'll see what the best strategy is around here. The one stop is the norm around most tracks, in fact all the tracks, but safety cars will turn it into a two-stop, and we'll see a massive range change. It'll change the trajectory of the race and with the way the strategies are planned out as well, so everybody's going to be on their tiptoes when the safety car comes out, and if it's the right time to pit or not, because it can cost some people a lot of races, especially when you're out in front and you think you've got a big lead, but you don't know what to do when the safety car comes out, and that can change your whole race completely, even when you've made no mistakes, even when you've had the pace and done nothing wrong. So it could be in tiptoes once you see a yellow flag, and if a safety car does come out, is it the best strategy to pit or not? But we'll find out then. The hard runners further down, they might switch over to hard, medium if the safety car comes out early, because obviously they're further down the field and want to change it up, but the guys in front won't risk that, because obviously track position is key around here. So we'll see what the strategies is. Again, there's a lot of variety around here at the Dutch Grand Prix, and I guarantee a few safety cars will appear because we saw a lot of crashes in qualifying, so I imagine it transforming over into the race then, as a few people did not take their grid slots, including Jay Hartnell, which is crucial for him because he needs all the meters he can get towards Veloci Ayub. But here are the lights then. We are underway for the Dutch Grand Prix, and from this camera angle I can't see, but Jay Hartnell gets a good start off the line. He's going wheel to wheel with the Ferrari. The Haas also, and Mazdals is going down the inside of the Ferrari, but has an outside line to carry the speed through, and he remains in P2 as well. Bit jockeying going on there with the Alpine and the Alfa Romeo, with the AlphaTauri of KSI in P4 there. You can see the Alfa Romeo and Alpine going side by side now. The little one taking the wider line, and he gets his way past the Alpine then, and he's on the hard compound tyres, so good start there from the little you on there. As you can see, the Ferrari fighting with the Alpine. Let's see if they go side by side. That is Chris, who crashed in qualifying. He backs out wisely, knowing that could be risky going for that move there. But what did you see, Bonpierre?
I saw a bit further back the Mercedes and the AlphaTauri of their Luxy and the Gargreaves coming together in turn 3. Just, it looked a bit of understeery, wheel banked, and just they spun. And then I think I didn't quite see the crash of Crago, but he definitely had a moment as well a bit later on, and so they lap 3 are quite far down the field, but considering it's the opening lap, everything can still happen.
I saw McLaren there cutting the curb, and he almost wiped out Christoph in the process, but thankfully didn't, as the Mercedes of Harvey goes down the inside of Gontier, who loses another position to Nacho as he was wide out the corner and lost another place there. He might lose another one towards Ferguson. He's in the slipstream now. Will he get him down into turn number 1 there? I don't think so. They're both draining the ERS there, and Gautier Lefellin then holds on to P11, but gotta watch out though, can't afford to make any more mistakes and drop down the field. However, the one is right behind KXI, who expect to be quicker than the Little one because he's on the medium compound tyres. The Little one is all over the back of him, and we might see an overtake from him very soon. And let's see then if he can get past him. That'd be a good one because he can keep the medium runner right behind him, and that'll pay dividends for his race, the Little one. But KSI needs to make the most of these medium compound tyres and do what Jay Hartnell's doing, is try and pull away. But we've got 2 people then who have pitted in this race, and that is Harry Palmer, who struggled in qualifying and dragging on speed. We saw losers from wing at the end of the qualifying then, so those 2 unfortunately suffering in this race already on lap 1. But safety cars will appear in this race. But Jay Hartnell then leads them away from Veloci Ayub. Mazdals there has dropped out the 1 second range of DRS. Crucially needs to get himself back in there. As you can see, he's low on ERS already in this stage of the race, and we've got a spinner further down. Is that Fandango? Yes, it is. The McLaren driver has spun,
and he made another spin trying to get back on the grass, but with the banking it's just not that easy to do. Early in this lap as well, I saw Christoph had a spin in turn 3. I think it looked like he hit too much of the curb on the inside of turn 3 and met the wall on the right side of turn 4, which he navigates this time around. I don't think he had damage. He definitely hit the wall, but his front wing looks intact, and he also stayed out. His pace seems to be okay, so I think he will stay out. Fandango, when going into the pit to change his wing, unfortunately picked up a 5-second time penalty, so he'll definitely have his race in jeopardy already. A bit of battling going up, going down, I should say, in the leading pack of the field, as Veloci Ayub is slowly dropping out of the DRS of Jay Hartnell, especially with the amount of ERS that the Ferrari has left. It's quite inferior compared to the leading Red Bull. Fandango is already having a race to forget with another spin, but KXI and the little one maybe the ones most likely for an overtake here on this straight.
Yeah, he's right behind him. He's about to make a move then. Mazdals then has been overtaken by KSI. Can he fight it around the outside? No, KSI has the racing line, and he moves himself up into P3 as you expect on the mediums. The Haas and the Williams there going side by side, but I think Nacho has won out of that one. He's defending quite valiantly against Gautier Lefellin, who's on the medium compound tyres then, so he's putting Nacho under massive pressure, but looks like Nacho's sustaining the pressure, and I can see that, oh, Lissy Yuan has spun and he has hit the wall. Did he go side by side with Mazdals or try to? And we've got a yellow flag, and that could indicate a safety car, and we're about to find out. And he's lost all of his wing too.
Yeah, indeed, the safety car has come out. I don't know what happened there, but battling in that area is definitely never a good idea. I don't know exactly why he spun, either. But that it is a chance for drivers who already paid, of course, to get back into the race. Jay Hartnell will be pretty upset, I think, having already created a good gap without using too much of his ERS. So he will have to do it again on probably superior tires to the Ferrari. But unfortunately for him, lucky for some others, it's as the case with, of course, every safety car.
And I don't think he'll dive off into the pit lane, and that's interesting. Well, I thought Ayob was going to go to the pit lane there, but did a dummy, and we'll see further down the field if any drivers want to take a nice little pit stop and get rid of those hard compound tyres, put on a set of mediums. And we've got an Alfa Romeo of the Little U1 who's obviously going for a pit stop. A bit too eager, Little U1. He needs to have a bit more patience, because we did see him all over the back of KXI on that short little straight there where they are right now, and he was right there with Mazzles, and I think they might have touched there, because Mazzles and Little U1 was inches away. Might have clipped him on the inside and unfortunately sent one into a spin. I think one needs to be a bit more patient, but he's got a lot of work to do and to negotiate his way around the field, and let's see then if he can fight back there from P16 and both Alfa Romeos all the way down into 16th or 17th. And Little U1 has spun again.
Yeah, fair. Just cool tires coming out of the pit. Easy mistake to do, but under a safety car, you'd rather not see people doing that, of course. But the cold mediums, mistakes in a tiny corner, it can all happen.
It can indeed, and that'll be a relief there for Ayoub, as knowing his rival is all the way down in P17, but anything could happen in this race. One safety car on lap 5, and he'll be hoping that safety car comes out at the right time for him, because obviously if safety car comes out at lap 11 or 12, that's when the medium runners could start to switch over to the hard compound tyres, and might benefit KXI, Jay Hartnell and the rest of the medium runners, because they can extend their stint obviously and go on to the hard compound tyres later on the race. But the main strategy is hard to medium, because hard you can go very long and reduce your stint on the mediums and have the best possible tyre life towards the end of a race. But that's obviously in a perfect race where there's no safety cars, but obviously you're bound to get safety cars wherever track you go, even if it's a most simple one like, I don't know, Austria. You can still get safety cars around there still, so you got to be very careful. Like I said, safety cars can really change the trajectory of the race and upset people's races as well in the process. Even if you're P1 or P2, you've got to keep an eye out. What's the best strategy plan? And obviously for these guys, early in this race when the safety car comes out, is to stay out there, because there's no point pitting and get rid of those tyres. Otherwise, you'll find yourself all the way down the field. But safety cars should be in very shortly once we see the McLaren of Fandango and Dragon on Speed catch up. Fandango had great pace, but unfortunately he lost it at the penultimate corner, sustained front wing damage and had to pit. So this is a second chance then of trying to get something back in this race. Same with Juan in P17 and Chris in P15 as well. I'm not quite sure what happened to him in the Ferrari. Did you see?
Yeah, he spun on lap 2 in the first sector, I believe, hit the wall. Didn't get any damage, I don't think, but now with the safety car he probably took his chance to go into the hards and try to see this race out, I think.
We'll see what happens then as the safety car peels off into the pit lane. Jay Hartnell will lead them away again and has to create that gap he created before the safety car came out, and we'll see then when he decides to go. Ayob will be on his tiptoes here, paying attention to when Jay Hartnell will decide to go, probably towards the end of the straight here. We saw Lewis Hamilton go at the final corner, but that didn't quite pay into his hands, as Verstappen there was able to out-drag him into turn number 1 at the last year's Dutch Grand Prix. And off we go then. Looks like Ayoub's quite close, you know, towards the back of Jay Hartnell. They had to slow down and jump on the brakes, or the game did anyway, because they were too close towards the safety car. So no move for him into turn number 1. Ferguson and Gaultier Lefellon are fighting into turn number 1. Gaultier hugging the inside line there, and he claims P8 for the time being, trying to get past Ferguson a few laps ago, and he's finally done it then at the safety car restart. Obviously in the medium compound tyre, so he has to get past the Harvener to make sure his strategy works out. But Little U1 has got himself involved in an incident, and that looks like Fandango too, losing his front wing. Both has lost their front wing, so their race then has gone terribly.
Yeah, it's gone from bad to worse, I think, for both drivers. Not a lot of action on the safety car restart, but indeed, Gauthier Levelon and Ferguson had a little bit of a skirmish into turn 1. It looked like Ferguson had that move nailed, but then Gauthier Levelon just on those superior medium tyres outgripped, I think, the Ripple, as the drivers now just settling in to their position after the restart. No one really close to making a move on that second straight, and now Ayub, it's all up to him to just stick with him, because that safety car could really help him. If he now stays with Jay Hartnell, which has been made a little bit easier, because the difference between tire grip is less than it was at the start, of course, then he is looking very lofty. There's a battle going on as MKP loses 2 places to both Deluxy and Leon. It tries to make back what very close to contact between both wheels, and I think MKP just has to concede this position here, and he does. Down into P12 from P10, but one was a medium driver, so you may get that back at the end of the race on when he pits on to mediums, and Deluxy has to go on to the hards. Not nice to see for him, of course. 2 drivers close or falling out of the DRS range now in the big train, which is KXI in P3, and it was momentarily, I believe it was Nacho or Gauthier Levelon, one of the 2 was close to falling out of the DRS range, but now both solidly back in it. The little one is having another spin. Let's not ridicule him too much, KXI, but with a big mistake there. Going onto the curb, I think he went a little bit too wide and he lost a heck of time. Now he's under attack as well from Mazels, who he won't have the DRS this lap, as it gets enabled for this one, which should help, especially Ayub, who has, again, less ERS than Jay Hartnell, as we've seen before the safety car, now after the safety car. It should help them just stick with the drivers ahead. Nacho slowly falling out of it, although Harvey went a little bit wide, I think, on the corner, just gone past. But Gauthier Levelon looking all of the back of the Dutchman in the Williams so far.
Deluxy there trying to make a move on Ferguson, but a bit too far back, and unfortunately couldn't make that one. He's on the medium compound tyres, of course, so he'll be definitely making the most of them and try and get past the Harvard the best he can. And Lissu Yuan there, unfortunately, just hasn't got a stable head, and unfortunately just losing it all over the place. He desperately needs a safety car, and I don't think he's damaged his front wing on that occasion, but he's diving off into pit lane anyway, and it's a shame there for Yuan, who's got a big advantage, but unfortunately has thrown it all away, and there's no advantage anymore because he has retired in the pit lane, so no points can be rewarded for him. And Veloci Ayub, then, he knows his championship rival has retired from this race, so the pressure is basically off him. But obviously the battle for P1 is a tense fan between those 2, and because DRS is now enabled. And what have you seen, Bompier?
There's a big incident into turn 1. Deluxy was following Ferguson pretty closely, and I think just misjudged his braking point into turn 1, fully slammed into the back of the Rebel driver. And Deluxy, I think he doesn't have a wing anymore. Ferguson, I think, apart from the spin and of course the time loss, has came out of the incident for the rest damage free. So yeah, both dropping down the order, and Deluxy definitely bound to make his first pit stop of the race.
Complete contrast race there for Deluxy, as he was having a good one, but there's an Alpine who's gone for a spin, and that is Leon. Unfortunately, he's dropped himself all the way down the field, then spinning in that fast right-hander there, probably got on the curb and lost the rear end of the car, so that's another driver there suffering. But we can see Harry Palmer then, who made a mistake earlier on in the race, had to pit for new tyres, and now he's all over the back of this fight, so that's a second chance provided for him. But what I was saying earlier then, because now the DRS is enabled, Jay Hartnell is struggling to pull away with Veloci because he's just dragging him along with him, and he can't make the most of their medium compound tyres. So this is better for Veloci in his position as the medium runner, can't pull away and needs to build up that gap before he goes onto the hard compound tyres. Then we're seeing a battle between Hargreaves, who has got past MKP for P9, and the AlphaTauri driver then moves himself up inside the top 10 further on in, and Craigo still in P11. He's been P11 most of this race, and seems to can't get out of it, as Looks like another driver who spun, that is Leon again, in that penultimate corner, so not having the best of races are those drivers. And yeah, we've seen a lot of battle and a lot of chaos so far. Might see some more later on in this race, but so far so good for the likes. Oh no! I was about to say Veloci, up, but he's made a mistake.
Yeah, he definitely has, and I think the safety car's out again. I don't exactly know why.
What did
Leon retires in the pit, but
what did that say?
Out as Ayub spun.
What did that say, Bumpy? A lap 11 when a safety car comes out, medium runners can pit, and this is played beautifully. Beautifully in the hands of Jay Hartnell then and KXI, who can both pit then and go on the hard compound tyres. This is a no-brainer for those guys on the mediums, who starts the mediums at the start of the race, and those two are going to pit, followed by Mercedes of MUFC Harvey and Gautier Lefellum and the rest of the hard runners as well. And Mazdals then will take the lead of this race ahead of Ross in P2. And we'll see how it all unfolds there. So the trajectory of this race has completely swung into the favours of the medium compound runners, and we'll see then how the hard runners were able to cope with those guys on the medium before, because they'll go on the medium compound tyres, but obviously those guys will be so close behind and have to make a huge deficit. Obviously more safety cars could come into play if it comes out like lap 19, lap 20. That's when those guys could go on the medium compound tyres and chase them down for the victory of the race. You could swing either way between those guys there, but where have they rejoined? So Jay Hartnell then, our net race leader, has rejoined down in P8. Got a lot of work to do. Got to be careful as well, negotiating his way around guys on older hard compound tyres. I say old, not quite old, because we've had two safety cars, so still in good shape, those hard compound tyres, but obviously he'll be a lot quicker than those guys ahead, having more grip and more pace. Got to make sure he can make his way around cleanly. And Veloci Ayub then is on a set of medium compound tyres then, so he'll have to make another pit stop, as those mediums won't go towards the end, I think. And that's his race then. Well, not completely undone so far, but taking a massive hit then, massive dent in this race, and probably for the championship as well, where it's a big opportunity for him to close all those points down from the Little 1, as he had a massive advantage. But Veloci Ayub then, how many points is it to win a race? Is it 30?
Yes, it is 30.
If he won this race for Veloci Ayub, he could have been 4 points ahead of the Little 1, but that's not quite happening so far then. So all those points then has just been thrown away by a little mistake there from Ayub. But what can he regain? He's still in the race so far. I bet the Little 1 wish he was still in the race, because more safety cars has appeared. But it's looking good there for Mazdals in P1. What can he do with it at the safety car restart? Leon's left the session. 2 DNFs so far in this race, and Fandango then will catch up to the back of the grid. We're just waiting for him to catch up to the safety car, and we can get going racing once again. We'll see how it all unfolds towards the next few laps of this race.
Yeah, especially further down the field, it's going to be very interesting with all the guys on the fresh tires, and then 3 on fresh mediums, having that massive grip advantage. And one thing that I think could be a masterstroke done by Christoph, he is currently on 8 lap old hards, and there are 23 lap more to go. And if he really notices those tires, of course he has undergone 2 safety cars on those tires as well. He pitted on the first one, I believe. If he really knows those tires home, I think he can make it to the end. Same with Dragon on Speed, though of course 2 lap older hearts, it's going to be a bit more tough for him. I think it can be done if he really knows them home. So I think currently Christoph is in the net race lead. Of course, very, very tough to get those hearts home. And if he really wants to get them home to the end of the race, he'll probably have to let Jay Hartnell pass once he catches up to him. But if his pace is good, if his tires stay good as well, if the safety car comes in this lap now, he can definitely be an upset in this race.
Safety car comes in this lap as Fandango caught at the back of the queue very late, so these guys were probably unaware that the safety cars could have come in probably thinking of going for one more lap then. So Mazels will lead them away, gets a decent restart, leaves Ross in the dust there as the Williams pulls out to the right hand side, and now Ross is under massive pressure, but still he stays ahead of the Williams there. As we see going into turn 1, side by side was the Ferrari and the Aston Martin. Chris has got past Dragon on speed, always defended from him, and let's see further back. Jay Hart now is fighting with KXI, those two on the fresh set of the hard compound tyres, and we see another DNF in this race, and that was who was it? It's Vettelacci Ayoub
further down. Yeah, I think he collided with Ferguson and both out of the race in turn 1, and I think you caught it as well. The AlphaTauri, he spun in turn 4, so there was 2 separate incidents and 2 retirements from it as well, and massive blow for Ayoub after his spin. It's gone even worse for him. But it's I saw as well KXI and Jay Hartnell, they had a bit of a tussle out of turn 1 and still very close to each other's tails. As of course there are a lot of slower cars now ahead of them, considering the tire age. So it's just about who is the one that gets through the field now fastest, I think, for the race win. If there of course are no safeguards, only 4 drivers left on those old hards, those hards from the start then, that they have to navigate through. But MUFC Harvey is now having a run on KXI outside of turn 1. It's not really where you want to be. Does he pull off the switchback? Thought about it, I think, but he hits the back of the AlphaTauri, so that can't be done.
No! Oh no!
And he hits KXI, and I don't know if KXI avoided the wall, but he definitely lost a lot of positions there from that contact. Really unfortunate to see.
KXI, who was in contention of a podium or potential race win, has unfortunately felt the full force of MEFC Harvey there. So Harvey hit KXI twice. The first one was nothing, but the second one definitely impacted him, and unfortunately has fallen down the order, and he then will have a lot of work to do then to try and get himself back on the podium where he's shown his true pace, and unfortunately there it's disappeared from him, and Jay Hartnell then is left to fight these old hard runners. But MEFC Harvey looks like he's got some decent pace, judging by that safety car restart being all over the back of KXI, literally as well, hits him with the back of his rear wing. But can he follow Jay Hartnell to the rest of these hard runners? Might be a bit difficult for Jay Hartnell, you know, because these guys are DRS trainers. DRS then is enabled after it being disabled for 2 laps. After the safety car, Nacho takes the lead on this race. They're going side by side, but Mazels has left the session then, and that indicates why these guys were able to pass him so easily and quickly, and he's a ghost from now on. So he's got to rejoin the session as quickly as he can, otherwise he'll drop so far further behind the field, and that leaves one less car for Jay Hartnell to try and overtake on all the tyres. And you can see that unfortunately Jay Hartnell, Mazels there going side by side, but obviously not in the session, and that's heartbreaking for Mazels, doing a good job in the Haas, was needed in it. Unfortunately his internet connection has let him down, and that's everybody's worst fear in an F1 game or any game.
Yeah, it's just nothing you can do about it, really. It's just, yeah, the pinnacle of bad things that can happen to you in league racing. I mean, just try to focus on the positives, as Ross now is very close to the back of Nacho, as is Jay Hartnell and MUFC Harvey. They are pressurizing Dragon on speed, probably down this straight as well, as Mazels losing more positions. Harry Palmer and Gargriffs at the back having a bit of a fight, but Ross is coming now on Nacho, and yeah, that's an overtake done, I think, pretty easily. But Nacho fights back from the death and actually makes a brilliant defensive maneuver, I gotta say. Stucks it round the outside of Ross there. Very great defending there from the Dutchman, and of course his home Grand Prix in the Williams. Very solid to keep it in front of him. Harvey and MKP fighting as well in the first sector, but Harvey keeping that position, but now he has fallen out of the DRS from Jay Hartnell, so the Red Bull has one less thing to worry about. Ross and Nacho, I think you were going to say that.
Yes.
I just saw the gap go very, very low, but Ross is stayed put for the time being. Maybe out of turn 10 with a good exit, doesn't quite have that. So for the moment, it's going to stay Nacho 1, Ross 2.
Yeah, scary moment there for Nacho as he clouts the curb then, going into turn number 12 there. Might leave him under clutches of Ross as he makes their way down the straight, but still gets a decent lead over him despite that mistake. But yeah, on this lap, going into turn number 8, Nacho was quite wide, and look at that. Ross is all over the back of Nacho once again then. Is Nacho able to fight him around the outside like he did the previous lap? Can he do it once again? No, Ross stays in second place then. So 2 attempts there from Ross, hasn't paid out so far. But he was so close to the back of him coming out of turn number 8. I thought he was going to dive it going into turn number 9, but thought better of it. And he remains in P2 for the time being, then putting big pressure there on the Dutchman in P1. And Jay Hartnell still stuck behind Dragon on speed despite being on fresher tyres. However, MEFC Harvey has dropped back away from Jay Hartnell, not really following him like I thought he'd be, but he has the McLaren driver MKP right behind him on those fresher set of the medium compound tyres, followed by the Luxy, who's gone for a move, and they both make contact, and they're both in a spin, followed by the Haas driver, and 3 drivers there get collected in the process. That was Gaultier Lefellin, and another safety car makes its appearance on the track, meaning that these half runners can pit on some mediums. Wow, what another change in this race, once again, bumpier.
Yeah, it definitely benefits all those drivers that stayed out. I think what causes it, on my screen at least, I was watching MKP at that moment. Harvey, I think, had a little bit of a desync through turn 6, or turn 7 it is. He's slowed down massively on the apex, and so MKP had to brake in order to not hit the back of him. Then Harvey teleported back in front, and I don't know who was it actually, behind MKP, saw an opportunity to just go for it, as you probably should. That just caused all tears. I think it was Luxy who went for the dive into turn 8, which is fair and square because MKP was just so slow at that moment because he had to brake mid-corner as the Luxy speeds into the pit lane. Mazzles, quite interestingly, stayed out, and of course that's because he is out of the session, so drivers don't have to worry about that. But Christophe, I think he is betting on making the tires last to the end. But Nacho, the leader of all those fresh medium drivers, definitely wanting to make a name for himself on his home track and maybe get his way at least onto the podium here with the great position that he is in.
The favour swung into the hard runners, the newer hard runners, a few laps ago. Now the favour has swung into the new medium runners. That's how much it can change a race. A safety car could completely ruin somebody's race, or could change their race completely, as in, well, strategy change. And obviously Nacho there on the brand new set of mediums is going to be a very quick Dutchman towards the end of the Grand Prix, followed by Ross obviously. So Nacho has got to make his way up the order as quickly as he can and try and drop Ross into the battle between Jay Hartnell and KSI, put a car in between them and try and pull away. That's what Nacho's got to do. Got to make the most of those medium compound tyres now. Chris, however, the man who spun, I think, Bompier on lap 2, and he's now in P1 again. Well, again, he's in P1.
Yeah, that's how the table can turn for everyone, especially 3 safety cars, of course, help with the craziness of a race. But yeah, making a very good comeback race so far is Christophe. He definitely needs to watch his rear though. Gargreaves into the pit, probably gonna put on a fresh set of medium tyres and serving his 5-second penalty, which is wise, so he doesn't have to serve it at the end of the race. Goes from P12, I think he was, changed his wing as well. Don't know if he had any contact with anyone maybe, which caused him hit the 5-second, and he lost his wing there as well. I don't know if that happened, but he on the fresh tire out of the whole grid, gonna be right behind MKP on all the hard. So that's should be one position for Gargreaves definitely that he gains. But yeah, KXI, JR, and Christophe, especially Christophe, of course, with the 50 lap all hards, definitely needs to watch their rear.
I was speaking to KXR before the race, and I was looking at his results, and he said he hasn't had the best of seasons, didn't turn up for the last 2 races. His best result has been P4 at the Brazilian Grand Prix, and other than that, he's had a DNF to his name at France, and I think at Monaco too. So And the Chinese Grand Prix, where did he finish? He wasn't in that race. So only one good race there from KXI. Now he finds himself on the podium, but he is surrounded by the medium compound runners right behind. So he's going to be looking behind him as well as attacking. So going to watch out for those medium runners. Will be very quick towards the end of the stage with 16 laps left to go. Those medium runners could wear out towards the end of the race too. Let's see and find out. But to Chris then, the man who spun on lap 2, lost his own plate, and he finds himself back in the lead of this Grand Prix. I bet he wasn't expecting that, but due to the safety cars, anything could happen. 3 safety cars in this race so far. It's very chaotic, and we're about to see some more racing action once again. One Ferrari's retired, the other one's in front with Jay Hartnell, who's looking in his wings to see KXI going alongside him. And KXI's got a good restart, and they're going side by side. We're making our way into turn number 1. KSI has the inside line there, and it's 3 wide going into turn 1, almost with the Haas there. And look at that. Look at the Red Bull getting a really good exit. He's moved himself back up into P2, but KXI is right there still. He loses traction a little bit coming out towards the exit of turn 3. Look at the Alpine. The grip he has on the Alpine around the outside. That is incredible. He just took 2 of them in one corner, and now he's about to take Christoph very soon as well. Got to be careful with the difference in speed on the medium and hard. He can make contact very easily there, so it can be wise not to do that. But he goes a little bit wide, gives this right-hander, but Ross is going to buy his time now. Nacho, however, he was the leader of the medium runners, but Ross is now in P2, and further behind we can see MEFC Harvey getting out of shape. Lost the place to Nacho, who's back up into P5. What a crazy restart that was. KXI and Jay Hartner going side by side. All of a sudden, Ross comes out of nowhere and gets a move done around the outside of the exit of turn number 3. That was lovely stuff there from the Alpine Ross.
Yeah, Ross had a monster of restart from P6, I think it was, behind Nacho even, to P2, and now with the help of ERS and Slipstream, probably going to take the race lead off of the Ferrari of Christoph. Let's see if he manages to stick it here. Tire grip advantage, a bit of wheel banging I think it was, but nothing too malicious, making the move clean now into first place. And the task he has now at hands, if he keeps it on track here, which he does, a bit bouncy over the curbs, nothing too major, he has to pull away from Christoph in order to just the main thing he needs to do is to get distance between himself and Jay Hartnell and of course Nacho, as that's still I think his main threat. Harvey looking very good there on the back of Craigo as well. Less than 2 tenths, but just a little bit of dirty air there in the middle sector, proving him costly. So on the back, as Christoph indeed is dropping out of the DRS from Ross. So good job there from the Alpine. Jay Hartnell looking now for a move maybe, but he backs out of it, thinks better of it, probably gonna go and try again on the main straight. As that of course it's way easier to overtake there. KXI looking in the background still. Nacho, I think, momentarily lost the place to Grego after that safety reset, but now back up at the P5. Podium's definitely not out of the question for him still. Look a bit further down if there's going to be any moves made, even when DRS is not available yet. Harvey is closing on Grego, but not quite close enough yet. Okay, very close to the back of the Aston Martin. Gauthier Leffelon made the move on Harry Palmer. Harry couldn't quite get that switchback like he wanted to. I think Gargreaves as well got past MKP. So now McLaren and the Haas in the last 2 positions. It's Fandango with a very good run out of turn 4, thinking about the move on Harvey. Doesn't quite make it. Say Fandango with a great comeback as well, being dead last I think after 3-4 laps, 20 seconds deficit to P18 at this time it was. Now finding himself a P8, battling even for higher places, as Harry Palmer has gone for a spin there, made a mistake there first, which cost him 2 positions, and then gone for a bigger half spin. So he's back down to last place, as Harvey still trying to overtake Craigo, but so far without success.
Yeah, shout out to Fandango. He's made quite a few mistakes in this race, but nevertheless he's still in this race, and that's what happens when 3 safety cars come out. You can gain a massive advantage on that, and he's into P8, so never give up, as they say. Jay Hartnell finds it, but they both make contacts with his full wing to left front tyre, but I don't think he sustained any damage though. That was close. Did Chris move on the brake, or was that Jay Hartnell who moved on the brake? I'm not quite sure, but it was very close indeed from those two, as Jay Hartnell tried to move but couldn't quite make it last. This is playing beautifully into the hands of the Ross, because he, on the medium compound tyres, has got 3 cars in between himself and Nacho, who's also his closest rival on the mediums, and is able to pull away while Nacho is stuck in traffic there. He was hoping to lead this Grand Prix, getting past these hard runners, being in P5 before the safety car, but instead it's got to the hands of Ross as he made a beautiful restart, getting past KXI, then Jay Hartnell around the outside into turn number 4. That was a lovely move there, it must be said. One of the best moves I've seen of the season there, just getting the pure traction on Jay Hartnell and KXI in the process too. But he leads with a 2.1 second advantage, with Jay Hartnell in P3 then. A bit further back than last time, so I don't think he'll get the move done down into turn number 1. But him on the fresher tyres. Chris, however, I wonder how long can he go on these hard compound tyres. Like you said, can he make it towards the end? Will it be too much of a stretch? Bearing in mind that we've had 3 safety cars, we don't expect them to be too old, but I wonder how long he can make those last for.
Fandango out of turn 1 just got too throttle happy, I think, and spun the car around. He was on course for a great comeback, but unfortunately thrown it all away. And talking about throwing it all away, Harvey onto the grass and looking back, got the level in the wall as well. It's all happening there on lap 25. Harvey into the grass, Fandango with a spin, got the level with the spin. I think the Haas there also, yeah, he indeed has, well, wing damage is kind of the same because he doesn't have a wing anymore, but all that causes yet another safety car to come out, and Ross is going to feel very hard done by. I wonder if the likes of Christopher now opt to go maybe for softs. I think they'll make it, but of course track position is very important around here, so let's see what strategic decisions these drivers are going to make here.
I bet later on, I bet wished he hasn't retired from the race, because he's witnessed 4 safety cars in this race, and I bet he wished he never retired, because obviously Ayub retired from a crash, so he can't come back in this race he can't anyway come back in the race, but let's see, one there had a chance of not retiring from the session, and he unfortunately did. But what could he have done if he stayed in this session? Jay Hart now has dived into the pit lane then to put on, no, he's changed his front wings, so that explains why he's in the pit lane then, because you don't want to do that, especially in this stage of the race, because he's dropped himself all the way back in the field. But with front wing damage, it's understandable, plus you get a brand new set of mediums anyway, so why not anyway. But going to LaFellin and Harry Palmer and MKP are in the pit lane. Fandango is back up into P9 despite that spin, so it's all happening in this race. 4 safety cars, completely slowing things down. Imagine if we didn't have those 4 safety cars, we'd be ending this race right now, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Did a lot of safety cars just popping out of nowhere, and I think we had the maximum already. Harry Palmer, the only one who went onto the soft tires, taking the gamble. So he's probably gonna have a very good restart. And everyone except for Christoph and KXI on fresh tires. So yeah, it's gonna be very, very close. And a redemption shot for Nacho to get past those hard runners. Don't know actually if Jay Arnold made the right decision there, putting onto fresh mediums. Of course, his tires will be very, very good compared to the rest, but 7 laps is not that much, considering 3 of those were also under the safety car. So I think maybe Jay Hartnell made the wrong decision. As Aston Martin spun under the safety car there, Dragon on speed has just dropped it, not even out of the corner, just on the straight into the grass. I don't know what happened there. Maybe just a George Russell or Romain Grosjean moment, but that's really unlucky for the German there. As maybe his best choice now is to pit for soft tires, but he stays out and catches back up to the field. So yeah, his chances of points are even slimmer now. Even though top 12, of course, points, but he has a very quick Harry Palmer on softs behind him, so that's going to be very tough even.
Dragon on speed, tying on points with second place man Ayub in the championship, and he was about to take a lot of points away from him, but he's in 12th place. Still, what can he gain from this race? Can he get himself inside the top 10? He'll definitely overtake Veloci Ayub for P2 in the championship. Mazzles, however, another man who's he's left the session. He commented about that. Was about to take a lot of points away as well. And his AI is still on 26 lap older tyres, so his AI is going for it, but obviously he's not in the session. Really hope he can get back in the session, Basil's, because there's still a few laps to go in this left in this race, and he's in P9. But who else? Craigo in P5, he could take away, he could go up into P3 if he stays where he finishes, Craigo, so he might take P3 away in the championship if Dragon Speed finishes where he is right now at Mazel's too. So Craigo in a good position there. Quite a race from Craigo, in fact. Not really mentioned him much, have we, in this race, and he's up into P5, so nice and steady from the Welshman in P5. And what can he do from there then? Ross then, safety car is in this lap, he'll take them away again. Chris in a 22 lap on hard compound tyres. He's done a fantastic job defending from Jay Hartnell, who's dropped into P10 after wait, did he spin early on? I can't remember. Jay Hartnell, yeah.
No, he just pitted.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. He pitted for Brandon from wing. I remember now. He didn't cause a safety car. He was the one that pitted. I think he pitted because he made contact with Chris into turn 1. But off we go there for the safety car restart. Chris has been caught napping, and here comes the AlphaTauri of KXI. They go side by side with the Ferrari. It's turn number 1 there, and he has the inside line, but Chris stays around the outside. But the Williams has made contact. The Aston Martin Craigo moves up into P3 there, has got himself on the podium. The Chinese Grand Prix race winner. They're going to be very careful because Chris is on all tyres. He can't afford to make contact with the Ferrari, who's gone off into the gravel there, and he's lost part of his front wing. There's an AlphaTauri. KXI is back on the podium, but the Mercedes and Ferrari made contact, and the Ferrari's out of the race with the Mercedes too. Major contact between those two there, and the Mercedes and Harvey has gone out of this race too. Chris and Harvey are out of this Dutch Grand Prix after making contact there in this dramatic Dutch Grand Prix here. I can't believe what's going on here. Craigo is up into P2. If he stays where he finishes, he might move up into P2 in the championship himself. So he's on good form so far, is the Welshman. KXI still on the podium despite being off it and on it loads of times in this race. Look at Hargreaves there on the back of Nacho. Nacho really struggling, must have got himself involved in contact with those guys earlier on in this race, and Hargreaves has moved up into P4 ahead of Nacho, and here comes MQP right behind Nacho, and Nacho might pit, yes he will, and the McLaren moves up into P5. Dragon Speed back up into P6 there in this dramatic Dutch Grand Prix, and a lot of positions changing. This graph has fluctuated up and down. It's crazy the amount of position changes we've had in this race, and all of a sudden Craigo finds himself in P2 despite being outside the top 10 a few laps ago, and he's moved from P14 up into P2. What a race there, a very quiet race from Craigo to sneak his way up into P2 there, keeping out of all the drama and having a nice little quiet race for himself, and he deserves it. Both AlphaTauri, KXI, despite all of that, is still in P3. How is he still in P3?
I honestly have no clue. I was just looking at the leaderboard as well. I saw, as you mentioned, Dragon Speed in P6. I don't know where he came from, to be honest. He's just, I think all race I haven't seen him. I haven't seen one glimpse of him, and suddenly he's just in P6. Same with Hargreaves. I've seen moments where he was doing something, but most of the times he's just gone unnoticed, and suddenly he's in P4. You know, but that's the race you want to have. That's the most ideal, of course. As Harry Palmer now on those softs, of course, just flies by Gauthier Leflon, but now both on the straight. It's going to be a good battle into turn 1. He looked to have a massive grip advantage out of the last turn, and now with a switchback, maybe he can work it out, but it's going to be very tricky if you keep it side by side here. And that's a little bit of contact between Harry Palmer and Gauthier Leflon. Don't think there's damage done though. Both drivers staying on track. Very tricky to go to battle into that bit of sector 1. And luckily they stayed out of it instead of any trouble. It creates a bit of breathing air for Dragon as well, who is on older tyres than both drivers behind. Same laps of course as Gauthier Leflon, but I think the hards of the Haas will probably be better than the mediums of the Aston Martin right about now. And Harry Palmer, I think he's been at the back of the pack for 25 laps out of 36, and but right now he's in P8, and of course at the end it's when you want to be near the top, and currently he's doing just that. And Gargreaves is putting his teammate though under pressure for the last podium position. Very interesting to see how that battle pans out.
Well, I've had AlphaTauri on the podium for the majority of the race, and it's been KXI, but now it could be Hargreaves on those medium compound tyres, claiming the podium away from KXI. KXI's best finishes in P4, but Gaultier, LaFellin and Dragon on Speed going side by side there. Dragon on Speed around the outside, gets past Gaultier, in fact defends from Gaultier LaFellin because it was in P6 before, but he goes a bit deep. Here comes Gaultier LaFellin then, with the inside line, gets better traction than Dragon on Speed, and now they're making up the way up the hill as Gaultier LaFellin has better straight line speed, and he moves himself up into P6. What a move there from Gaultier LaFellin. Dragon and Speed tried to have it around the outside, but Gaultier LaFellin there with better traction on the inside of turn 4. He managed to get past him and claims P6. And there's an Alfa Romeo Harry Palmer got off the track. This man, Harry Palmer, has done 4 stops, and however he's still in P8. And Mazels hasn't done 1 stop according to my screen.
He has not. No, his AI is just loving life, I think, out on track. 30 laps on hard tires. Why not? Yeah, it's very lucky for him. Gargreaves is now gonna have a second opportunity to get past KXI into turn 1. Don't want to collide, especially because they are teammates, of course, and that's the first rule. You don't want to collide with your teammate. But looking at the ERS levels, I think KXI has enough in the tank to defend for at least 2 or 3 more laps if it just burns and burns this whole time, which of course he doesn't even have to. So I'm not sure if Gargreaves has all the facilities right to get past there. It's what you don't want to do is burn your ERS where he just did it, because you're gonna get closer to KXI, yes, but now you're just gonna be within a 10th and you're gonna have to back off because it's a very tricky section here. So just save your ERS, especially in the middle sector and the end of first sector, so you can attack all out onto the main straight. Yellow flag, I don't think that's for anything, but just for the game maybe being idiotic, or the flag being waved already. But KXI on the sides has pretty good pace. Gargreaves not going for the move here, saving his ERS as he definitely should do. So let's see, going onto this straight, if he decides to make a move this time. Also Dragon on Speed in striking distance of the car ahead. Gargreaves very close now to KXI. KXI burning, coming out on the straight, and with Gargreaves derating, it's not going to be close enough just yet, I don't think. So he has to stay put for another lap.
Interesting battle going on between both avatars. KXI has been under a lot of pressure throughout the whole race, and he's been fighting with the likes of Jay Hartnell, Chris, MUFC Harvey. In fact, he got tapped by the back of MUFC Harvey because KXI went off the track at one time, and now he's back up into P3. He's had a roller coaster of a race, KXI. I wasn't expecting him to go back up on the podium despite that collision with MUFC Harvey. Both Mercedes are out of this race. KXI has had a lot on his hands tonight in this race, and somehow, despite of all of that, he's still in P3. I don't know how. Mazels and Nacho fighting, but Mazels is a ghost and hasn't pitted yet. Everybody else made 3 or 4 stops, while Mazels hasn't made 1 stop in the race. It's unfortunate for Mazels there, can't joke about that of course, but Hargreaves is right in the back. But here comes Mkipe, who's popped out of nowhere, didn't have the best of qualifying in the McLaren driver, and somehow he's on the contention for a podium. He started P18 and now he's fighting for a podium, so he's kept out of all the drama and finds himself battling with both AlphaTauris there, as Gargreaves then goes down the straight and another time, and he's defended beautifully. I agree with you there, Bompier. He needs to save the ERS. He can't afford it. He doesn't need to use it in places where he doesn't need to use it, because he's got better grip, better tyres. He needs to save it in that middle sector, like you said. He needs to be smart and think about the strategy here and how he's going to overtake his teammate. He has to save that energy to make it power down the straight ahead of his teammate there of KXI. So he needs to think about this wisely, does Hargreaves, if he wants a podium. He can't afford to drain his ERS in unnecessary places, especially places like these as well, where I've seen him use it at time to time around here, this part of the track. He just needs to save it up and try and go for the last lap. Probably use these 2 laps to save it, because you can see he's got the tyre grip and he's able to stick with KXI in these slow speed corners here and the high speed corners, and he has to try and use it down the straight on the last lap to try and overtake him where he has the most energy left in that battery store.
Yeah, definitely, but I think KX,
it's like here
using ERS there as well. It's just not not needed to use it there because you're gonna be in the DRS anyway, and the closer you are in corners, like the further you're gonna be away from them outside of on the corner exit. But KXI, to give credit where credit's due, you know, he's defending exactly like he should do, only using his ERS on the place where he actually can be attacked, and just save it in other places and not making any mistakes. Other than that, it's cool book defending that KXI is doing, but Gargreaves as well. It's just unnecessary taps of the ERS button that I think is going to cost him this podium here, unless he can find some second wind on those mediums, which no, it's not impossible, but it's very tough, especially if you have 310s here in the middle sector. It's not gonna, it's impossible to stay within those 310s in those fast right-handers. The dirty air is just too present. Like in the slope bit, you see here as well, he's gaining back. Now he's in 210s and probably gonna lose a bit here as well. Though he is very close to the back of KSI, and this could be the moment where Gargreaves goes for the overtake.
KXI has got a healthy amount of battery in that in his disposable, so he can drain it down the straight if he wants to. It's the final lap of this race. It's Gargreaves' last moment, last chance to try and overtake KXI. Will it happen in turn number 1? No, it does not. So he's probably got more chances around here because he's able to use that tyre grip to his advantage and able to have more speed in the corners where he needs it. KXI will be under massive pressure. Dragon on Speed has got past Gautier and Felon. Those two have been fighting. Oh, contact's been made between the two. But however, Gargreaves is using the battery on this short straight here, but he's too far back, and KXI then has drained all his battery in his defence to try and stay ahead of Gargreaves. But I don't think it's happening for Gargreaves unless he can have better traction. Mazzles has been disqualified for not using more than one tyres. Oh, that's funny, that Mazzles there.
Yeah, that's his AI.
I don't know why his AI didn't pit. Maybe he has wanted to. Well, it's supposed to get a puncher from running the whole race on one set of tyres. But KXI then, last chance for Gargreaves to get past him into this part of the section where DRS is enabled, but that's not happened on this occasion. KXI has fought valiantly there to keep ahead of his teammate, but however, Ross there will come across the line to finish in P1 ahead of Craigo in P2. What a fantastic drive from Craigo, must be said. Here comes KXI ahead of Gargreaves. MKP in P5 there ahead of Dragon on Speed. Gautier Lefelon in P7. Harry Palmer will finish in P8 despite being at the back of the race and doing 4 stops as well, maybe 5 now, who knows, as he makes his way across the line to finish in P8. Jay Hartnell was in contention for fighting for the victory of this race until he lost his end plate at the 4th or 5th or 6th or 10th safety car, and he comes across the line to finish in P9. Nacho finishes in P10 ahead of Fandango, who struggled throughout the whole race but stayed in this race and gained himself a few points as well. So that's what happens when you stay in the race and never give up. If it was me, I would have left by now because I'm impatient, but what a race that was. 4 or 5 safety cars appearing in this race. And boy, what a race that was. Congratulations to Ross there. Wasn't expecting him to win the race, but anything could have happened. Craigo, however, will take P2 away in the championship after that fantastic drive from P14, I believe it was, where he started. That's incredible driving there from the Welshman, the Chinese Grand Prix race winner. More drives like that from Craigo, nice and clean and quiet, might find himself leading this championship.
Yeah, he's done very well indeed from P14 on the grid. A lot of drivers standing outside of the top 10, gaining massive points purely by not pitting as much or just keeping it safe. And out of the walls, which proved to be very crucial in this race. My driver today, personally, it's Ross. He had such a good safety car restart. You know, he overtook 3 drivers, I think, in the space of 3-4 corners. That was absolutely insane. So yeah, I gotta give my drive today to him.
I don't know, it's close between Craigo and Ross, despite where Craigo started, and making his way quietly up the order. And look at that, P18, P16 from MKP and Dragon on Speed in P5 and P6. Harry Palmer from P17 as well. Those drivers who start all the way down the field find themselves in high finishing orders there. That's what happens when you see a lot of safety cars appearing in this race. A change of strategies, completely different trajectory of the race there, where it's, well, where it's supposed to head, but that's what happens. It can spice things up dramatically and change the outcome of the race. Jay Hartnell could have won this race, KXI could have won this race, and Veloce Ayub could have won this race, as he was right behind Jay Hartnell on the first stint, but that's been a long time ago. And he finds himself with a DNF with our championship leader, the Little One, who retired, unfortunately. And Mazel's got disqualified because his AI didn't want to pit, want to showboated that those tyres could go towards the end.
Yeah, a lot of different potential winners in that race. I think there was a moment even when Nacho was maybe in prime position to take the victory, but then just made a little mistake after the safety car, which allowed Ross to go past and ultimately claim that victory. So yeah, an amazing race in Netherlands, which is always nice to see and unexpected when you go into it, I think.
Yeah, because Nacho was the highest medium runner before the third or fourth safety car, but Ross, however, found a way past Nacho. Then he found his way past KXI and Jay Hartnell. They were fighting for the lead, because it looks like Jay Hartnell and KXI had the upper hand before that third safety car, fourth safety car came out, because they were on better tyres at the better stage of the race. Then that safety car came out, they switched over to the mediums, and they were under pressure themselves rather than pressurising those guys before. That's what happens when the safety car comes out at the right time for some people, the wrong time for others as well, which could completely ruin or gain their race. But that was an intriguing race, it must be said, and I want to say a massive thank you, Bompierre, for commentating it with me at the very last moment.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, mate. Thank you, of course, for doing it as well. It's not your main tier, but you know, very nice of you to be here.
Yeah, I've commentated three tiers in the past week or so. Tier 4, Tier 3, and obviously my main one, Tier 1 as well. And talk about Tier 1 and Tier 2, we'll see you at 8:30 at the Tier 1 Grand Prix for the Dutch Grand Prix, and we'll see Bompierre race there, and he can take away what he saw in this race and put it into his work at the race he will have in the Dutch GP.
100%.
But that's it from me then. Thank you so much for having me in the commentary box. I know your commentator was supposed to commentate, but unfortunately he backed out, and I had to step in. But it's been a pleasure, and thank you for having me, Tier 3. We'll see you whenever. Maybe I'll see you next Monday, who knows, if you can find a replacement or not. But more chaotic races like that will be very interesting, won't it, Bompierre?
Yeah, this is one of the best races I've witnessed, I think, in a long time. So I hope more of this, and yeah, it's going to be a great season then.
And Craigo there will jump up to P2 for sure in the championship standings after a very clean drive for him, and he could be very impressed with that. And unfortunately for Little One, Ayub as well, Jay Hartnell, Nacho, everybody in the race had a problem, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't think anyone had plain sailing, which pretty much sums up this race.
Anyways, that's it from me and Bompierre, and we'll see you all. Well, I'll see you next Thursday, this Thursday, for the Dutch GP for Tier 1 at 8:30, and Tier 2 will start at 8 o'clock. So we'll see you then, and it's goodbye from us. Tier 4, however, is happening if you want to go over to watch that. I think most of you are watching that right now anyways. It was commentated Tier 4, the Monza Grand Prix. It was a chaotic one, and there might be another chaotic one here, and that's where I'll be going up to. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, very.
See you all whenever. Goodbye. Enjoy the Bahrain Grand Prix as well. I'm pretty sure I'll speak to most of you on Thursday anyways, so